eventually you get something out of it, and it's called snap out of it, and it's a combination of all ambition and belief, right? So 3 seconds running down the stairs. That's what it took to change my life forever. I didn't know the impact that those 3 seconds were gonna have. I'm a rush mom of 2. They are 9 and 11. Back then, that was 7 years ago, so they were quite little. I was buying some tickets to Portugal, and I had this big question that would change my life forever. I needed to ask my husband. We were taking my mom with us. Should we see the 5 of us in the plane together, or 3 and 2? So I had the tickets in the browser. I go up and I ask my husband, how should we see, 3 or 2? I don't know. You decide. Okay, we'll do a 5. And I see that the browser is ticking. You know, when you're gonna lose the tickets and you have to refresh, and I didn't have time to refresh the browser because I was so busy. So I jumped to get to my computer faster, and when I jumped, running down the stairs, I gained height. And when I gained height, I forgot there was a door at the bottom of the stairs. So I hit my head in the front, I bounced back, and I hit the head in the back of the stairs, and I bounced forward. I had 3 concussions in one, and the most traumatic brain injury ever. Unfortunately, I was not diagnosed at the moment because I didn't vomit, I didn't go blackout. So 6 weeks out is when I finally knew I had a brain injury when I was non-functional. So yes, 3 seconds running down the stairs. And after that, I had to spend 4 months in a dark room. Just close your eyes. 4 months. No TV, no phone, no computer, no books. You can't play with your kids, you can't tie your shoes. My mom had to move with us because I couldn't do anything at home. For 4 months, all I could do was a dark room, audiobooks, and meditation. I started meditating, which I thought it was impossible with my personality, but apparently anyone can meditate, and I'm a proven example. So tons of meditation, 4 months in a dark room. It was horrible. It was hell, like so bad. But you know what? Not only that, it took me 12 months of cognitive therapy to get back to my feet. So with the brain injury, I lost my ability to do math, and you learn in a little bit. I'm an electrical engineer, and I couldn't do math. I couldn't remember 3 numbers in a row. Like the headaches were horrible. So I had to do vestibular therapy, executive therapy, physical therapy. Thank God we live in Lexington, and the best concussion center in New England is in Concord. So it was like 10-minute drive from my house. So I had to go 5 days a week, then 4 days a week, twice a week, until finally I was graduated a week out. And yeah, 12 months to finally get back on my feet. But you know what? It was a wake-up call, because there's a difference between being accomplished and being fulfilled. By the time that I had my concussion, I was definitely accomplished. I was in the peak of my career. You're gonna learn that in a little bit. I was making money, I was managing a big team, life was good, I was very ambitious. Was I fulfilled? Not necessarily. I was craving something different. I wanted the freedom of time, the freedom of money, the freedom of creating something on my own. And I always was passionate about photography, but I had no plans. It wasn't a business. That's what I did as a hobby, as a passion. I would wake up at 5 a.m. to edit some photos before work. So the idea kind of like started popping in my head. And I always joke with my husband, like one day when I'm old and retired, in my golden years, I'm gonna be a photographer and I'm gonna have a studio. I didn't think about my niece when I said that, but that was my idea, right? But in this dark room for 4 months, it suddenly became the realization that life is too short to not follow your biggest dream. And that was something that I was extremely passionate about. And I'm completely optimistic. Even though I had this horrible accident, I am convinced of my good fortune. Like, I knew there was something on the other side, a silver lining and something better that was coming. What, I wasn't sure yet, but I'm the half full kind of girl, so I knew something was going on. And I said, why not me and why not now? Like, if not now, when? When do you stop and you take 4 months to think, what is it that you want to do? We're always so rushed, and I had time to think. So I decided to just push through. And one of the things that has been something constant in my life, I call it the unavoidable ambition. So my mom can say that I've been ambition and driven since I was little, very determined girl. Here in the left, it's me graduating from electrical engineering. And the only reason why I picked electrical engineering is because it was the most difficult one. And I picked the most difficult, like university back home, the most difficult program, and that's how I picked it. I had no alliance with electricity at all. But it was just a challenge. I was all in for the challenge. I was math lover, the nerd, very scientific, never artistic, never picked up a camera. So it makes sense for me to go to engineering school, and I did really well. I was valedictorian. I didn't tell my parents I was giving the speech until they saw me walking into the stage. So it went pretty well, and like life was good. And then my next big ambition, I wanted to go to MIT. Like when I was 12 years old, my sister married a guy. He taught at MIT eventually. I studied his classes, and I knew I wanted to go there. Like that was my ultimate goal. Like I knew it, and I made it work. Was it easy to get to MIT? You would think so because my curriculum had pages to go. I was like valedictorian, very nerd. Wow, like the GMAT and I couldn't see eye to eye. I could give a whole TED talk about the GMAT. I self-sabotaged my test multiple times until I was ready to come, but I made it. And you would say like, okay, finally, she made it to MIT, she's here. I was super happy to finally put my foot on campus. And then the second week, I'm here at Sloan, a bunch of super smart people. In the second week, everyone is like signing up for like the party, the C function, the dorms, like having all this fun. I was buying a ticket to Minneapolis, literally to go to a networking event for a conference that no Sloaney goes because MIT is so prestigious that people come and recruit you. And you get to decide who you want to work for. But I was an international student. I didn't have visa, so I needed like company to sponsor me. This is coming out of a recession where the country's upside down and I needed to work 10 times harder. So people were going to parties and I was networking from the second day. And needless to say, I was the first person in the whole class who landed an internship at Microsoft. Because I got the internship in this trip that no one went to, right? Like 2 weeks into the MBA. So I'm right there, I'm finally working at Microsoft. I absolutely loved it. I took the offer immediately after my internship. It was kind of like a no-brainer. I just negotiated my green card, of course. But yes, so I'm working there and I joined the Office Business Group. So if you don't know what that is, if you use Word, Excel, PowerPoint, those are pretty good tools. Well, that is the cash cow of Microsoft. Like that's where all the money comes from. And I was managing a huge marketing budget of like $300 million worldwide. I was traveling to different subsidiaries in the world. I flew first class in a double-decker in the top seat, like in a bed, first time, and I think I cannot afford that anymore for now, maybe soon. So I was having a good life, like huge marketing budget, like big teams, like subsidiaries worldwide. And then, over coffee, my internship team had done a spin-off, and they had started the online store. They wanted to compete with Best Buy and all these channels to start selling all the products. And over coffee, someone booked me and said, oh, you're in the Office Business Group. And I was like, yes. Oh, we're starting the online stores and we need an office category manager. Do you want to jump ship with us and be our office category manager? We have no budget. No one believes in us except Steve Ballmer. We have no office, no real estate. We all work in a conference room like side to side. And at that time, I had an office with a window. That's like high real estate for a solo office. And I said, absolutely, I'll jump ship. So overnight, I left my super established job in Microsoft where I knew exactly the trajectory into this like pilot that maybe the concept was gonna be killed 12 months out. And I didn't know how many doors that was gonna open for me. Like it was before and after. So I had the time of my life at Microsoft. That job, by the time that I left, we were like 150 employees. We launched Office 365, the first subscription product in 228 markets. We also launched Windows 10. I worked hand in hand with the CMO in war rooms while I was pregnant with both of my children, which was amazing. So that was really good. And when we moved to Boston, Wayfair knocked on my door. So as you know, Wayfair is a huge retailer. I had been working in retail for a couple of years in Microsoft. And they gave me an offer for site merchandising. So site merchandising for the lifestyle brand. So Just and Main, we launched Perigold, Birch Lane, amazing. So I was director there for all their merchandising. And I was having so much fun. Life was good, my team was big. And then over coffee, again, because the best casual decisions take place over coffee, the now CFO, Kate Roger, she used to run talent acquisition for Wayfair back then. And she booked time with me. It's like, Andre, you're an engineer. I was like, yes. And you're a people's person. I was like, yes again. Do you want to come and jump ship into HR and run talent acquisition for all engineers for the company? And I was like, I don't know anything about HR, but absolutely, yes, I'll do it. So I jumped ship for the second time in my life into a team that had 4 people and they were struggling. And that was, believe it or not, my favorite job ever. Like, I was flourishing. I was having so much fun. I grew the team. We were hiring 40 to 60 engineers a month. It was incredible. And that's when I had the concussion. So in the peak of my career, my team at that time was a team of 40 people. I was director there. My paycheck was huge. My life was good. I was in the capital VP. Everything was amazing. And I mean, it's extremely ambitious, right? But you that's exactly when the heat came and when I was forced to stop and rethink what is it that I actually wanted to do and was I actually fulfilled and not necessarily accomplished. So that's where the story begins for the photography. But the other thing beyond my ambition that is kind of like goes hand to hand has been my mantra of going for now. That has something that has opened me so many doors. And the story is, you can see there Obama. He came to MIT in 2011 and I wanted to meet him. I was in MIT, he was coming to MIT, I knew I was gonna meet him. It was just a matter of how, right? It was an energy conference and I had no business of being in an energy company. I don't know anything about energy, except my dad telling me when I was growing up to turn off the lights in electricity. But I don't care, like I was gonna see Obama, right? So back down 2 years, right? So pause there. 2 years ago, the day of my MIT interview, I was so excited. I'm finally being interviewed at MIT. Well, I was Venezuelan, and at that time I was not an on-time person, to say it. So I was a little bit late to my interview at Sloan, and I get off the T, and I'm like with tachycardia, like I don't know where to walk, like so many buildings, and I'm like walking lost, and I stop a guy in the T. He's like, oh, excuse me, I'm so late, I need to go to Sloan. That guy happened to be the dean at MIT. Like who knew? Like former dean, not the actual dean. So like we're talking, he held my hand like a little girl, and that not literally, but kind of. So we walked until the building. We talked about Venezuela. We talked about golf. I don't play golf, but apparently he has played golf in a country club close to my house. So we're bonding over golf, and then off we go. I don't know any more about this guy. I did send him an email saying that I got admitted, but never again heard from him. 2 years later, Obama is coming. I decided to email my dean friend. So I sent him an email. Hi, Mr. Dean, how are you? I'm Andre Toro, the crazy Venezuelan who 2 years ago stopped in the team. Remember, golf, Venezuela, we talked. Obama is coming. I really, 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 really want to go. Please, what can I do? He emailed me back 5 minutes later. Pick up your ticket tomorrow at 3 p.m. Apparently, no one had ever asked him for a ticket. He had tickets to spare. He was the former dean. Yeah, he just gave me a ticket. Like, just like that. And the story doesn't end there. So it gets better. So I get to my conference a little bit late again. 2 hours going to security service, like all the agents, like in the movies, like you name it. So I get there and it's packed, standing room only. Bye, Danny. Standing room only. And you know what? There was not a single place to sit. Like, and I'm so short. I was like, how am I gonna see Obama? Like, I can't see anything. But in the first row, there was an empty seat, literally first row and center. So I walked down. And then I see that all the seats have a paper, like CEO of A123, CEO of this, the press, this and that, obviously the VIP people, and there's one chair empty, no paper. So I asked, like, is someone sitting here? And people is like, no, like, we haven't seen anyone. Was a paper here? No, it's been empty like for an hour and a half. Like, okay, I'm gonna sit here, and if someone asks me to like stand up and move, I will, of course. But like, do you mind if I sit? No, come on, sit here. So I spent an hour and a half chatting with all these CEOs in the energy sector, like learning about the industry, like explaining why I was here, like telling them my story. And then Obama came and did the talk, the energy in the room, we're all clapping. And I tell my CEO friends, this is like a concert. The guy's gonna come back and he's gonna shake the hands. And since we're in the first row, be prepared. And off he came. So he came to say hi, again we clap, and then he literally handshake everyone. So this is me, right, some here, but no one took my picture. But this is a picture of the person before, and this is his face right after he handshake. So we have the before and the after and the during. So I met Obama and I landed, I declined, but multiple internships for the energy sector just because I asked, right? Just because I asked. So the story here is that there's so many opportunities lingering for us out in the world that we don't grab and we don't take because we just don't ask. People love to give like and help, but if you don't ask, and I have no problem with refusal. Like I do not mind refusal and rejection, no fear of rejection whatsoever. And you can ask my sister, I just ask, if they say no, they say no, but you lose nothing asking. So I invite you to just grab and ask for a seat in the table, because imagine, I ended up handshaking Obama with no business being there. So let's get started. So now, how did I get into photography? So interesting enough, I didn't know Ikigai was a thing. So I had no idea. A year ago, my husband introduced me to this concept, and I was like, this is what happened to me. I didn't know there was a business concept behind it. So Ikigai is a Japanese term, and it's an intersection of 4 things. What you're good at, what you like to do, what the world needs, and what you can get paid for. So if you those four things, you combine them together, you are fulfilled, you're happy, and you're unstoppable. Because you're working in your core of who you are. And suddenly your job transforms into passion, profession, mission, and vocation. And that's exactly what happened to me. So what I'm good at? I'm good at photography, I'm good at storytelling, I'm a people's person, I love connecting with people, I love telling stories. What does the world need? I truly believe that women needs to be seen. They like for us to show us their beauty. They can have a really stressful life, and here I am capturing their beauty and giving them that through my lens. And it's about the moment, it's about the experience. People like to experience this beauty. We don't have this in our day-to-day. So that's how I built my entire side for personal branding and headshots. But on the other side, people for generations have been craving a legacy. They want to be seen. They want to leave a mark in this world. And there's nothing more powerful than photography. This is a photo of my grandmother looking at her grandmother during a baptism. How powerful is that? This has been true for decades and centuries. Like, we crave this. When we leave this world, there's nothing but memories. So tangible memories become the most treasured things that I can actually offer the world. And the last piece of it is, how can the world pay you? So I truly believe that you can be creative and you can make profit. And I'm a true living example that you can have a living and pay the bills and so more if you actually work in what you're passionate about. And in terms of legacy, these are two fun photos. So this one in the left, this was in Mexico last year. That's my mom here in the center. We are 6 siblings, so it's my mom with the 6 siblings, our spouses, and all our kids. So this is as little as we can get family-wise. And this photo, imagine 20 years, 30 years from now, how much is that gonna value? Like, this is gonna live for generations to come. And this one here is my best gift to my kids. So these are them, and this is their grandparents. And the reason why my dad is not there is that I was not a photographer when he was alive. I wish I was, but this is gonna be a legacy portrait for my kids for generations to come. So my questions for you is, what is your superpower? What does the world need? And what can you be paid for? Think about it, because you might not be in the right place right now, but that doesn't mean that you cannot do career switch. I did mine at 35 with no experience in what was coming next. And you know what? It is possible to do what you love and build your financial empire. And you know what? Wealthy people were not wealthy until they started working in what they were passionate about. Until they did what they loved, they were not wealthy. And you know what? Because if you spend 24 hours obsessed about something, putting all your love and your attention and your details into that, there's no way that's not gonna work out. Imagine all that focused energy, you just become unstoppable. So that's why you can build an empire doing what you love. And it can be anything, because I'm the proven example that even an artistic side can be much more profitable than a corp job, if you do it correctly. So you must say, like, oh, Andre, this was so easy. So you were dreaming your life, you just woke up one day and you say you want to be a photographer. Was it easy? No, it was horrible. So not only did I have headaches, which were horrible, I had the most horrible identity crisis. For like about 5 months after I decided to start my job, I took my mom to the bank with me to open my bank account, to do my LLC, and I was like, okay, now I have a photography business. And the next day I collapsed because suddenly I lost my identity, like my job, my salary, the places that I had studied, the size of my team, my paycheck, always defined me. And suddenly, overnight, I didn't have that badge of credibility behind me that could define who I was. So I avoided get-togethers, networking events, friends. I couldn't answer the question, what do you do? And on top of that, I decided to do something that was atypical. It's not that I had a startup for neuroscience or biotech, no. I wanted to be a photographer full-time and have a studio. So like, not even the typical stereotype that society had boxed me in. So I just couldn't answer the question. So it did take me time and tons of meditation to push through that, and sometimes the best way out is through. So I just had to leave the identity crisis and then snap out of it. And as soon as I was able to snap, then the fun began. The first thing that I did, similar to what you do in corp, so I replicated, was finding the expert. I didn't know anything about photography except here and there. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna fly to Panama. And I told my husband, oh, so next week I'm flying to Panama. He's like, why? Wow. Why? Because there's a photographer, her name is Catalina Avila. She's gonna be in Panama doing a workshop. So I flew into her for a week. I learned how to use Photoshop, thank you very much. And I learned how to pose people like with an apple. Imagine very classic art, like imagine like a painting. It was amazing. I finally understood how to use all my equipment. And after that, I was like, okay, this is too classic. I'm very passionate. Like this is too static for me. So I need like more passion in my life. I want to shoot with emotion. So I flew to Colorado and I started mentoring with the most famous storyteller photographer called Stormy Solis. I learned tons from her. I finally was able to create my own style and I merged both. I call it real art photography. It doesn't exist in a dictionary. But in my terms, it's fine art inspired by candid moments. So I merged both and that's what I do. And I loved it. So I improved my craft. This was a picture before I was an official photographer. That's my oldest daughter. Those are the 4 grandparents. That's my dad there. It's beautiful, but it's not necessarily artistic. But I did improve my craft, and I was able to create this. I believe it was 3 years ago. I flew to Alaska with this family to photograph them there by the mountains. And now I travel the world with clients to very poetic sceneries to do my photography. So I improved the craft, and my business started to bloom. But you know what? A couple of years later, boom. The business, not me this time, thank God, it is ceiling. I was not able to grow past a number. Like I had done my math, I knew exactly what my maximum was. In order to do more, I had to work harder, I had to put more hours, there were enough sunsets in a year, so I had to redesign. I had done so much compared to other people in the industry, but in my own standards, coming from my own life in the corporate world, it was not enough. And I had always told myself, give me 5 years, my studio is gonna be bigger than my corporate job. And here I was, the clock was ticking and it wasn't happening. So overnight, I decided to rewrite my business plan, that it can be scary because I was already producing tons for the business, but it was not enough. So I decided to go big or go home. So that's the time when I decided to open my studio. I told my husband, I'm getting a studio, I'm gonna be not seasonal anymore, I'm gonna be photographing 12 months a year. I told him that, and then literally 6 weeks later, I had a studio, and 2 months later, we were cutting the ribbon with the Chamber of Commerce. So it all happened kind of overnight. And that became my happy place. And the studio today is 6 people. So it's me. I have a studio manager that is full-time. I have 2 hair and makeup artists. Susan here is one. I have a dedicated art installer that's all he does. We go to our client's home and we put everything up in the walls. So it truly became full service, from the styling, the outfits, the hair and makeup, the arts in the walls. Everything is done for you. So becoming full service was kind of like before and after. Here are some of the installations that we've done for clients in the area. And this is the most interesting one. So this was the inflection point. So this was my business. I launched 2019, and then this was the ceiling that I took. Like I had to really find my business. There was no way that I was gonna go 10x. And you know what? 10x is so much easier than 2x. Because it's not working harder, it's just transforming the way that you work and doing things differently. So look at this job. Over a year, we were able to do 3.5x, and the business keeps growing, even though we've been recession, election year, you name it. Like the economy is gonna be bad or good, but the value that we provide to our clients is so premium and so spectacular that there will always be ideal clients that fall in love with us. And our brand has become an aspirational brand, literally, and I love it. So it's become the lifetime job that I've always desired. And in terms of like, how do I run the business? I get this question all the time. So SEO is Google. So this is search engine optimization. You don't pay for it. You just plug, you set it out. I turned that one on day one. From the beginning, I'm a believer that SEO needed to be core to my business. So right now, 28%, even 7 years later, 28% of my business comes from Google. People always tell me, do you run ads? Do you run ads? You know what? I was able to get to year 4 with no ads. And they grew substantially, like crazy numbers without any ads. I only turned the ads in year 5. And right now, they're 18% of my business. And repeats to this day remains at 33%. Why? Because this is my fan base. They really become attached to my brand and who we are. And I love it. They keep coming back. So it's a snowball effect. Once people get into the studio, like I do headshots for them, I do families, then they grow up their kids, I do senior portraits, and it's been super fun. And all of these, it's with no weddings. I'm a portrait photographer, so I only specialize in all things family and headshots. So no events. I don't do events. I can do first community if it's someone dear to my heart, but it's not something I specialize on. So it's basically portraits and personal branding. Those are my 2 and only verticals in my business. I wanted to specialize to become the best in those 2 areas. So So the other question I get asked, oh, Andre, was it a smooth ride? Sure, absolutely. So I launched in 2019. That was year one, so building blocks. Year two, COVID hit. Thank you very much. And then, okay, I'm surviving. People have some disposable income, so I'm growing the business. Go 2021, I had an explant surgery. I can do a whole TED talk about my explant surgery, but that's another topic. But I did have to close my studio for 3 months. And I'm a solopreneur, so if I close and I'm not shooting, there's no income coming, right? So it's super fun to be sick when you're an entrepreneur. And then fast forward to 2024, I had another concussion. So back in September, I had another one. This one, I wasn't running, I wasn't rushed because now I take my time going to places, but it was a freak accident in the studio. Some lights hitting the back of my head. This was in September, in the midst of peak season at my studio. So by the time that the studio is blooming, and even with these crazy concussions, this crazy explant and COVID hitting, I was able to continually grow my business. So that to say that it hasn't been a smooth road, but it's been an enjoyable one. And despite all the challenges, we always come stronger in the other side. The next question that I always get is like, oh, Andre, you must be royalty. Like, we've met these Venezuelans, deep pockets, I've seen them. Like, they are so serious people. And I was like, sure. So no royalty. So I came to the US for education, but I had no network in the US whatsoever. So my first clients were all dentists because of my twin sister that had to go. And my brother-in-law who taught at MIT, so his best friend was a teacher, he could afford me, and like, that was it. So I had no networks. I had to build this from scratch. I didn't know anyone. English is my second language. I'm Venezuelan, so like, no connections here to the wealth that you would imagine in royalty, but I am a rebel. So I did find out through my niece that apparently Simon Bolivar, if you don't know who he is, he's the Washington of Latin America, pretty awesome guy. He had a wife whose name was Maria Teresa Rodriguez del Toro, see? So apparently, she is my first cousin 5 times removed. There you go. So there is some like blood in me, not royal, but rebel, because I was a rebel. This is me, and then this is her. We are highly connected, apparently. So yes, no deep pockets. Like the Toro family is no royalty, but definitely we do work hard and smart, and we're very passionate and ambitious. So the last thing to wrap it up is that this year, 7 years after my concussion, my husband was able to meet my neurologist. So this is my neurologist. Believe it or not, 7 years, he hasn't been able to change his headshot. I've been trying to get him to get a headshot, and he's in denial. This was like 20 years ago. He's old now. So, but this is what he puts in his website. He doesn't look like this anymore. I'm gonna take the camera next time I see him to see if I can get him a headshot. But the story is that he met my husband this year in January, and he told him that I am the only person that he's seen in his practice, and he's been in practice for like 50 years, he's pretty old, that I'm better off after a traumatic brain injury. That he's never seen such a severe brain injury with such a beautiful outcome. Like, and he doesn't know how I did it to transform such adversity into ambition and pride. Like, he says that after such a traumatic brain injury, people go into depression, they go into anxiety, they just can't snap out of it. And you can't snap out of a concussion because there is slow recovery. But what I'm saying is that I was able to take all of that and use it as fuel to just open my next chapter in life. So with that, I just ask you to use my concussion as your wake-up call. Don't wait to be hit in the head to take action and start living your life. It's very painful. And yes, use your own adversity. Everyone has problems in life. Like, life is not a smooth journey, but we can always take what we have to just make it better. And I'd love to connect. This is my info, if you want to connect with us. And now we have time for some Q&A. Anyone has questions?